Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Golden Dawn and watched through the main view screen as the massive space station grew larger ahead of them. Nexus 7 was the biggest trading post in this part of the galaxy, and Jake had never seen anything like it. The station stretched for miles in every direction with docking bays that could hold ships 10 times bigger than his own vessel. The Golden Dawn moved slowly toward its assigned docking port, and Jake could see other ships already attached to the station. There were sleek silver vessels from the Zephyrian Empire with their crystal-like hulls that seemed to bend light around them. Dark angular ships from the Sorok Republic sat in nearby bays with their reptilian crews visible through transparent sections. Further away, Jake spotted the massive cargo haulers from the insectoid hive colonies and the warships of the Corvan Empire with their black armor plating. "Captain, we are getting a lot of attention out there," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her science station. She was monitoring the communication channels, and her face showed concern. "Multiple alien ships are scanning us, and I'm picking up quite a bit of chatter about our appearance." Jake looked down at his uniform and then around the bridge. Everything looked normal to him, but he knew that humans were still new to this galactic community. Earth had only made first contact with alien civilizations 5 years ago, and this was only the third human ship to visit. Nexus 7, the Golden Dawn, was special, though, because it was the first ship built specifically for deep space exploration and trade with alien species. "What kind of chatter, Amy?" Jake asked as he moved closer to her station. Amy listened to her earpiece for a moment before responding. "They are talking about our hull, sir. They seem very interested in the golden color." Jake nodded and looked out at his ship through the side window. The Golden Dawn did look different from every other vessel at the station. While most alien ships were built with dark metals or crystal composites, the human ship gleamed with a bright golden finish that caught the light from the station and nearby stars. The hull seemed to shimmer and pulse with a warm glow that made it stand out like a beacon among all the other vessels. "Docking Bay 7 is clear for approach," came the voice of Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez from the communications station. "Control is giving us standard arrival protocols, but they are also requesting a meeting with you as soon as we dock, Captain." "A meeting about what?" Jake asked. Ben listened to his earpiece again. "They did not say, sir, but there are several alien ambassadors who want to inspect our ship and discuss trade agreements." Jake felt both excited and nervous about meeting with alien representatives. This was exactly why Earth had sent the Golden Dawn to Nexus 7, but he also knew that humans were considered primitive by most galactic species. Earth technology was hundreds of years behind the advanced civilizations that controlled this part of space, and Jake wondered what they could possibly offer in trade. The Golden Dawn settled into its docking bay with a gentle bump, and Jake heard the sounds of the station's mechanical arms locking onto his ship. Through the view screen, he could see alien beings gathering on the other side of the transparent barrier that separated the docking bay from the station interior. There were tall, blue-skinned Zephyrians with their crystal armor and flowing robes. Shorter reptilian Soraks stood nearby with their scaled skin gleaming under the station lights. Several insectoid creatures from the hive colonies buzzed around the group while clicking and chirping in their own language. "Captain, we are getting a direct communication request from the Zephyrian ambassador," Ben announced. "Should I put it through?" "Yes, go ahead." Jake replied and straightened his uniform. The main view screen changed to show the face of a tall alien with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. Crystal formations grew from his forehead and temples, giving him an otherworldly appearance that still made Jake uncomfortable even after 5 years of contact with alien species. "Greetings, human captain," the alien said in perfect English, though his voice had a strange musical quality. "I am Commander Vexstar of the Zephyrian delegation. We are most curious about your vessel and would like to arrange an inspection." "It would be an honor to meet with you, Commander Vexstar," Jake replied formally. "I am Captain Jake Morrison, and this is the Earthship Golden Dawn. We are here to establish trade relationships and learn about galactic commerce." Commander Vexstar made a sound that might have been laughter, but Jake was not sure. "Yes, we can. See your ship quite clearly, Captain? It is very bright and shiny." Tell me, did your people choose that golden color to intimidate other species, or is it simply for decoration? Jake felt heat rise in his cheeks at the alien's tone. It sounded like Commander Vexstar was making fun of his ship, but Jake tried to remain diplomatic. The hull composition serves multiple purposes, Commander. We would be happy to discuss our technology during our meeting. Technology, Commander Vexstar said, and Jake could definitely hear amusement in his voice now. How fascinating. That humans consider bright paint to be technology. We will see you shortly, Captain. The communication ended, and Jake stood staring at the blank screen. Amy turned in her chair to look at him with a concerned expression. Sir, I am monitoring communications from the other alien ships, and they are all talking about us, she said quietly. They are calling the Golden Dawn names like the Golden Peacock and the Shiny Toy. The Sorok delegation is making jokes about primitive mammals who think bright colors will scare their enemies. Jake closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had expected some mockery from advanced alien civilizations, but hearing it directly still stung. The Golden Dawn represented years of work by Earth's best engineers and scientists, but to these aliens it looked like nothing more than a flashy decoration. Lieutenant Torres, report to the bridge, Jake said into his communicator. We are going to meet with alien ambassadors, and I want our tactical officer present. Few minutes later, Lieutenant Lisa Torres stepped onto the bridge. She was a tough woman with dark hair and serious eyes who had served in Earth's Space Defense Forces before joining the Exploration Division. Captain, the aliens are setting up what looks like some kind of gathering in the main docking area, she said after checking the external cameras. I count representatives from at least 6 different species, and they all seem very interested in getting a close look at our ship. Jake nodded and looked out at the Golden Dawn one more time. The ship did look different from everything else at the station, and he could understand why the aliens were curious. What they did not understand was that the golden hull was not just for show. Earth scientists had discovered something remarkable in the deep ocean trenches, and that discovery had led to the development of a new type of hull material that was unlike anything else in the galaxy. Well then, Jake said with a slight smile, let us go show them what humans can build and see if we can change some minds about our so-called primitive technology. 3 weeks had passed since the Golden Dawn left Nexus 7 and Captain Jake. Morrison was beginning to think their diplomatic mission had been a complete failure. The alien ambassadors had toured his ship with barely hidden smirks and made polite comments about human craftsmanship while clearly thinking it was all for show. Commander Vexstar had even patted the golden hull like someone might pat a child's toy car and said it was very pretty for a species that was still learning about space travel. Now the Golden Dawn was alone in the Kepler 442 system, where Earth scientists had detected large deposits of rare minerals on the third planet. Jake had hoped to establish a mining claim for humanity, but it seemed other species had the same idea. His sensors were picking up multiple ships in the area, and none of them looked friendly. Captain, we have contacts approaching from the asteroid belt, called out Lieutenant Amy Carter from her science station. 6 ships moving in formation, and they are not responding to our communication attempts. Jake moved to the center of the bridge and looked at the tactical display. The approaching ships were sleek and black with angular designs that looked built for war rather than exploration. He recognized the configuration from the intelligence briefings he had studied before leaving Earth. Those are Corvan Empire vessels, Amy, he said quietly. Battle cruisers by the look of them. Lieutenant Lisa Torres looked up from her tactical station with concern on her face. Sir, the Corvan Empire has a reputation for being aggressive toward newer species. They believe that military strength determines who has the right to claim territory in disputed systems. Jake nodded grimly. The Corvan were one of the older civilizations in the galaxy, and they had built their empire through conquest rather than diplomacy. Their ships were among the most heavily armed in known space, and they had never lost a battle against a technologically inferior opponent. Incoming transmission, Captain, announced Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez from Communications. The lead Corvan ship is requesting to speak with our commanding officer. Put it through, Ben. Jake replied and straightened his uniform. The main view screen filled with the image of a reptilian alien whose scales were dark green with lighter patterns along his neck and face. The creature had sharp teeth and yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the dim lighting of his bridge. Jake had seen pictures of Corvan officers, but meeting one face-to-face was still intimidating. "Human Captain, I am Admiral Theckener of the Corvan. Third Fleet." The alien's voice was deep and rough like gravel scraping against metal. "You are trespassing in space that belongs to the Corvan Empire." Jake tried to keep his voice steady as he replied, "Admiral Theckener, this system is listed as unclaimed territory in all galactic charts. Earth has as much right to be here as any other species." Admiral Theckener made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like a growl. "Rights are determined by strength, human, and your species has no strength here. You pilot a single ship while I command 6 battle cruisers that could reduce your pretty golden toy to scrap metal in minutes. We are here on a peaceful scientific mission, Admiral," Jake said. "There is no need for hostility between our peoples, peaceful Admiral." Theckener leaned closer to his communication screen, and Jake could see rows of sharp teeth. "Humans always speak of peace when they are outnumbered and outgunned. Your golden ship is very bright and shiny, Captain, but I wonder if it will still sparkle when it is floating in pieces." Jake felt sweat forming on his forehead, but he tried to maintain his diplomatic composure. "Admiral, perhaps we could discuss this situation and find a solution that works for both our species." "The solution is simple," Admiral Theckener replied. "You will leave this system immediately and never return, or I will destroy your ship and take your golden hull as a trophy for my personal collection." The communication ended, and Jake found himself staring at a blank screen while his heart pounded in his chest. Around the bridge, his crew members were looking at him with expressions that mixed fear and determination. "Captain, I am reading weapons charging on all 6 Corvan ships," Lisa reported from her tactical station. "They have plasma cannons and photon torpedo launchers aimed directly at us. How long until they are in firing range?" Jake asked. "Approximately 12 minutes, sir," Lisa replied. "Should I charge our own weapon systems?" Jake hesitated. The Golden Dawn did have defensive weapons, but they were designed for protection against pirates and small raiders, not military battle cruisers from an advanced alien empire. Even if they managed to destroy 1 or 2 Corvan ships, the others would easily finish them off. "Sir, I am picking up subspace communications from the direction of Nexus 7, Amy announced. "Multiple alien species are monitoring this confrontation, and some of them are placing bets on how long we will survive." Jake closed his eyes and tried to think. News traveled fast in space, and it seemed like the entire galactic community was watching to see what would happen when humans faced their first real military challenge. The aliens who had mocked the Golden Dawn at Nexus 7 were probably expecting to watch it get blown apart by superior Corvan firepower. "What are they saying?" Jake asked. Amy listened to her earpiece for a moment. "Commander Vexstar is telling other Zephyrian officers that he gives us 3 minutes against the Corvan fleet. The Sorark delegation is betting that we will try to run away rather than fight. Most of the aliens seem to agree that humans will either flee or be destroyed very quickly. Captain, we could try to escape to hyperspace," suggested Ben from his communications station. "The Golden Dawn has fast engines, and we might be able to outrun the Corvan ships." Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were good people who had volunteered for a dangerous mission to represent humanity among the stars. They trusted him to make the right decision and keep them alive, but Jake was not sure what the right decision was. "Sir, the Corvan ships are moving into attack formation," Lisa reported. "Admiral Theckener is hailing us again. Put him through," Jake said. Admiral Theckener's scarred face appeared on the screen again, and this time he was definitely smiling. "This is your final warning, human captain. Leave now or face the consequences." Jake took a deep breath and made his decision. "Admiral, I am afraid we cannot comply with your demand. This system is unclaimed territory and Earth has the right to establish a presence here." "Then you have chosen death," Admiral Theckener replied. "Your golden ship will make a fine addition to my trophy room after I melt it down for scrap metal." The communication ended and Jake turned to his crew. "All hands, Prepare for combat. Lisa, bring our defensive systems online and get ready to show these aliens what human engineering can really do. Admiral Theckener had grown tired of waiting for the humans to show proper fear and respect for Corvan military might. The golden ship floated in space like a bright target, and he decided it was time to teach these primitive mammals what happened when they challenged a superior species. He turned to his weapons officer with a predatory smile showing rows of sharp teeth. "Fire plasma cannons at full power," he commanded. "Target their engines first, then work your way forward until nothing remains but floating debris." The Corvan battlecruiser shuddered slightly as its main weapons discharged, and Admiral Theckener watched through his viewscreen as brilliant beams of superheated plasma streaked toward the human vessel. These weapons could melt through the armor of any known starship and had destroyed countless enemies of the Corvan Empire over the centuries. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair as he watched the incoming plasma fire on his tactical display. Around him, his crew worked frantically at their stations while alarms blared throughout the ship. This was the moment that would determine whether humanity survived its first real test in galactic politics or became another footnote in the history of failed civilizations. "Brace for impact," Jake shouted just before the plasma beam struck. The golden dawn, the expected explosion, never came. Instead of tearing through the hull and vaporizing everything inside the plasma, simply splashed across the golden surface like water hitting a stone. The energy seemed to flow along the hull in rippling patterns before disappearing completely without causing any damage at all. "What just happened?" Jake asked in amazement. Lieutenant Lisa Torres stared at her tactical display with wide eyes. "Sir, our hull took direct hits from concentrated plasma fire, but I am reading 0 damage to any ship systems. It is like the weapons passed right through us without touching anything." Back on the Corvan flagship, Admiral Theckener was staring at his own tactical screen in disbelief. His weapons officer was running diagnostics on the plasma cannons while other crew members checked their sensors to make sure they were working properly. "Admiral, our weapons fired correctly and struck the target directly," the weapons officer reported. "But somehow the human ship absorbed the entire attack without any visible damage." "Impossible," Admiral Theckener snarled. No material can withstand concentrated plasma fire." "Your weapons must have misfired, sir. All weapon systems are functioning normally," the weapons officer insisted. The plasma beams definitely hit their target. At Nexus 7, the alien observers, who had been expecting to watch humanity's quick destruction, were now staring at their viewing screens in stunned silence. Commander Vexstar of the Zephyrian delegation had been making jokes about human incompetence just moments before, but now his crystalline voice was barely a whisper. "Did anyone else see what just happened?" he asked the other ambassadors gathered. Around the main display screen, the Sorok representative was running his forked tongue across his lips nervously. "The Corvan plasma fire should have destroyed that ship instantly. Their weapons are among the most powerful in the galaxy." Several insectoid creatures from the hive colonies were clicking and buzzing frantically in their own language while their compound eyes focused on the image of the undamaged Golden Dawn. Even they seemed confused by what they had witnessed. Admiral Theckener was not willing to accept that a primitive human ship could survive his attack. He turned to his tactical officer, with fury burning in his yellow eyes. "Fire all weapons at once," he commanded. "Plasma cannons, photon torpedoes, and ion beams. I want every weapon on this ship aimed at that golden target." The other 5 Corvan battle cruisers received similar orders in space around the Golden Dawn suddenly filled with deadly energy as 6 military vessels unleashed their full firepower at the human ship. Plasma beams, photon torpedoes, and particle weapons created a light show that could be seen from several star systems away. Chief Engineer Pete Collins was monitoring the ship's systems from the engine room when the second wave of attacks hit. He expected to see catastrophic damage reports flooding his screens, but instead something incredible was happening. The ship's power levels were actually increasing with each weapon impact. "Captain, this is engineering," Pete called over the communication system. "Sir, you need to see these readings. Our power output is climbing beyond normal parameters." "What do you mean, Pete?" Jake replied from the bridge. Every time their weapons hit us, our energy reserves go up, Pete explained with excitement in his voice. It is like the hull is not just stopping their attacks, but somehow converting the incoming energy and feeding it back into our power grid. Dr. Kate Wilson, the ship's chief physicist, had been running scans of the hull during the attack, and her findings were even more remarkable. Captain, the golden hull material is not behaving like any known substance. When energy strikes it, the molecular structure seems to absorb and redirect the force rather than being damaged by it. On the bridge, Jake watched in amazement as wave after wave of alien weapons fire crashed against his ship without causing any harm. The Golden Dawn was not just surviving the attack, but actually seemed to be getting stronger with each impact. The hull was glowing brighter now with accumulated energy, and the ship's internal power systems were running at levels far above their normal capacity. Admiral Feckener had exhausted half his ammunition, trying to destroy the human vessel, and was beginning to feel something he had never experienced before in his military career. Fear was creeping into his thoughts as he realized that his most powerful weapons were having no effect whatsoever on the golden ship. Worse than that, his tactical officer was reporting that the human vessel's energy signature was increasing dramatically. Admiral, the target's power output has tripled since we began our attack, the tactical officer reported with uncertainty in his voice. Their hull is actually glowing brighter than before, and our sensors are detecting massive energy buildups throughout their ship. How is that possible? Admiral Feckener demanded. I do not know, sir, the tactical officer replied. But whatever that hull is made of, it appears to be absorbing our weapons fire and converting it into usable energy. The alien observers at Nexus 7 were now completely silent as they watched the impossible scene unfolding on their screens. The human ship that they had mocked as a primitive golden toy was not only surviving an attack from the feared Corvan fleet, but seemed to be thriving under the assault. Commander Vextar S. Crystalline voice cracked as he whispered, "What have the humans built?" Captain Jake Morrison watched as the Corvan fleet finally stopped firing after exhausting most of their ammunition without causing even the slightest damage to his ship. The Golden Dawn now pulsed with absorbed energy, and every system was running at maximum efficiency. Jake knew it was time to reveal the truth about human technology and show these aliens that appearances could be very deceiving. Open a channel to all ships in the area, Jake commanded. It is time they learned what they are really dealing with, Lieutenant. Ben Rodriguez worked at his communications station and nodded. Channel open, sir. You are broadcasting to the Corvan fleet and the observers at Nexus 7. Jake stood up and faced the main view screen, knowing that his words would be heard across multiple star systems within hours. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Golden Dawn. I believe it is time to explain why your weapons have been ineffective against our ship. Admiral Feckener's scarred face appeared on one section of the split-screen display, looking both angry and confused. Human trickery will not save you. No ship can withstand the firepower of 6 Corvan battlecruisers. You are correct, Admiral, Jake replied calmly. No normal ship could survive such an attack. But the Golden Dawn is not built with normal materials. Dr. Kate Wilson stepped forward from her science station to join Jake in front of the view screen. She was a small woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes who had spent most of her career studying unusual materials and energy patterns. What you have been attacking is not just a ship with golden paint, Dr. Wilson explained in her clear scientific voice. The hull is composed of a revolutionary metamaterial that we discovered in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. We call it Aurelius metal, and it has properties that no other known substance in the galaxy possesses. Commander Vextar's crystalline voice came through the speakers from Nexus 7. Impossible. The Zephyrian Empire has studied materials science for thousands of years. No single element or compound could absorb energy attacks without being destroyed. Dr. Wilson smiled slightly. That is because Aurelius metal is not a simple element or compound. It is a complex crystalline structure that forms naturally only under the extreme pressure and unique conditions found in Earth's deepest ocean trenches. When we discovered it 5 years ago, our scientists realized it could revolutionize Space Travel Lieutenant Colonel Steve Murphy stepped up to join the conversation. He was the ship's security chief and had been involved in the development of Earth's new defensive technologies from the beginning. The metal does not just deflect or absorb energy, Steve explained. It captures incoming attacks and converts them into usable power for our ship systems. The more you attack us, the stronger we become, Admiral Feckener was staring at the humans with growing alarm. You are telling me that your hull grows more powerful when hit by weapons fire? Exactly, Dr. Wilson replied. It gets better than that. Every different type of energy that strikes the hull teaches the material how to defend against that specific attack. Your plasma cannons, photon torpedoes, and ion beams have all made our defensive systems more advanced, the alien observers at Nexus 7 were listening to this explanation with expressions of shock and fear on their faces. The Sorok representative was hissing softly while running his clawed hands along his scaled neck. The insectoid hive delegates were clicking frantically in their own language as they processed the implications. How much of this metal do humans possess? Asked. Commander Vexstar and Jake could hear worry in the Zephyrian's normally confident voice. Lieutenant. Amy Carter consulted her datapad before answering. Earth has been mining Aurelius metal for 3 years now. Every human ship built since first contact has been equipped with hulls made from this material. The Golden Dawn is actually one of our smaller vessels. This announcement sent waves of panic through the alien communications. Jake could hear multiple species broadcasting emergency messages to their homeworlds as they realized that humanity possessed a defensive technology that made them essentially invulnerable to conventional weapons. Chief Engineer Pete Collins joined the group in front of the view screen with a tablet showing power readings from the ship's systems. Captain, the energy we absorbed from the Corvan attack has increased our power output by 400%. Our weapon systems are now operating at levels that exceed anything in our original design. Specifications. Admiral Feckener's yellow eyes widened as he understood what the human was saying. You are telling me that my fleet has given you enough power to destroy us? That is correct, Admiral, Jake replied seriously. Your weapons have charged our systems beyond anything we could have achieved on our own. The Golden Dawn is now capable of output levels that could disable your entire fleet with a single coordinated attack. The Corvan Admiral looked around his bridge at his crew members, who were all staring at their instruments with expressions of disbelief. Their sensors were confirming that the human ship's energy signature had increased to levels that were off their measurement scales. This is impossible, Admiral Feckener muttered. The Corvan Empire has conquered dozens of star systems with these weapons. Our plasma cannons can melt through any known armor. Any known armor except Aurelius metal, corrected Dr. Wilson. Your empire, like all others in the galaxy, has been building ships with materials that are designed to resist energy attacks. Humans took a different approach and created a hull that embraces incoming energy and uses it as fuel. Jake stepped closer to the view screen so that Admiral Feckener could see his face clearly. Admiral, I am now going to give you the same choice you gave me earlier. You can withdraw your fleet peacefully, and we will consider this matter resolved. Or you can continue this confrontation and face retaliation from weapons powered by your own attacks. The bridge of the Golden Dawn fell silent as everyone waited for the Corvan Admiral's response. In the background, they could hear frantic communications between the alien species at Nexus 7 as word spread throughout the galactic community that humanity possessed technology that could revolutionize space warfare. Your weapon systems are coming online, Captain, Lisa Torres reported quietly from her tactical station. All batteries are charged and ready to fire on your command. Admiral Feckener stared at the humans for a long moment before slowly leaning back in his command chair. For the first time in his military career, he was facing an enemy that his weapons could not harm and who had just demonstrated the ability to turn his own firepower against him. The golden ship that he had mocked as a primitive toy was now revealed as the most advanced warship he had ever encountered. Admiral Feckener stared at the golden human ship that now glowed with energy his own weapons had provided, and felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of military service. Complete defeat without even damaging his enemy was not something the Corvan Empire had ever faced, and the Admiral knew that continuing this fight would only result in the destruction of his entire fleet. All ships withdraw to safe distance, Admiral Theckener commanded through gritted teeth. Set course for Corvan space immediately. His bridge crew looked at him with shock because the Corvan military had never retreated from any battle in their recorded history. The weapons officer started to speak, but the Admiral silenced him with a sharp gesture. "You heard my orders," Admiral Theckener growled. "Any ship that does not comply will answer to me personally." The 6 Corvan battlecruisers slowly turned away from the Golden Dawn and began accelerating toward the edge of the star system. Admiral Theckener kept his eyes on the human ship until it disappeared from his view screen, then slumped back in his command chair, feeling older than his many years. Captain Jake Morrison watched the Corvan fleet retreat and let out a breath he had been holding for what felt like hours. Around him, his crew was celebrating quietly, but Jake knew this moment would change everything for humanity in the galactic community. "Ben, open a channel to Nexus 7, Jake said. "I think we need to have some conversations with our alien neighbors." "Channel open, sir," Ben replied. "Multiple species are requesting immediate communication with you." The main view screen split into several sections showing the faces of alien ambassadors who had been watching the confrontation from the safety of the space station. Commander Vexstar of the Zephyrian delegation was the first to speak, and his crystalline voice was much more respectful than it had been during their first meeting. "Captain Morrison, on behalf of the Zephyrian Empire, I wish to formally apologize for our earlier comments about your vessel," Commander Vexstar said with what appeared to be genuine remorse. "We clearly underestimated human technological capabilities and would like to discuss the possibility of closer diplomatic relations." The Sorok representative was nodding his scaled head in agreement. "The Sorok Republic also extends an apology for our dismissive attitude. We would be honored to negotiate trade agreements with Earth and learn more about your remarkable defensive technologies." Jake listened as one after another the alien species that had mocked the Golden Dawn just weeks ago now offered formal apologies and requests for meetings. The insectoid hive colonies wanted to discuss mineral extraction partnerships, while several smaller species asked about mutual defense pacts. "We appreciate all of your offers," Jake replied diplomatically. "Earth is interested in peaceful relationships with all galactic civilizations, and we will be happy to schedule formal negotiations." Lieutenant Amy Carter was monitoring communications throughout the galaxy, and the news was spreading faster than Jake had expected. "Captain, I am picking up emergency broadcasts from over 30 different star systems. Word about what happened here is reaching every major civilization within communication range." "What are they saying, Amy?" Jake asked. Amy listened to her earpiece for a moment before responding. "Most species are trying to verify the reports about our defensive capabilities. Several military leaders are requesting detailed information about Aurelius metal and how it works. There are also some concerning messages about potential threats to established power structures." Jake nodded grimly. He had expected that revealing human technology would create political waves throughout the galaxy, but the speed and intensity of the reactions was greater than anticipated. Dr. Kate Wilson approached the captain with a datapad showing readings from their recent battle. "Captain, the energy absorption from the Corvan attack has given us enough power to travel to 3 different star systems without refueling. Our weapon systems are also operating at efficiency levels we never achieved during testing." "How long will these enhanced capabilities last?" Jake asked. "The Aurelius metal retains absorbed energy for approximately 6 months, Dr. Wilson explained. "But more importantly, every attack we survive teaches the material how to defend against similar weapons. The Golden Dawn is now essentially immune to Corvan plasma technology and several other energy types we encountered." Chief Engineer Pete Collins joined the conversation with his own readings. "Sir, our manufacturing records show that Earth has produced enough Aurelius metal to build over 50 ships the size of the Golden Dawn. The mining operations in the deep ocean trenches are also expanding production capabilities," Jake realized. that this information would fundamentally change how other species viewed humanity. Earth had gone from being considered a primitive newcomer to potentially the most militarily powerful civilization in known space almost overnight. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," Ben announced. "Admiral Sarah Thompson wants to speak with you immediately." Jake had been expecting this call. "Put her through." Ben. The view screen switched to show a middle-aged woman in Earth military uniform sitting in what appeared to be a conference room filled with other high-ranking officers and government officials. "Captain Morrison, congratulations on a successful first test of our new defensive systems," Admiral Thompson said with a smile. "Your encounter with the Corvin fleet has exceeded all our expectations for demonstrating human capabilities." "Thank you, Admiral," Jake replied. "But I think we may have created some unintended consequences. The entire galaxy now knows about Aurelius' metal and our technological advantages. That was always part of the plan, Captain," Admiral Thompson explained. "Earth's leadership decided that the best way to establish our position in galactic politics was through a demonstration of strength rather than lengthy negotiations from a position of weakness." Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew who were listening to this conversation with interest. "What are orders going forward, Admiral?" "Continue your exploration mission, Captain. But be aware that you are now representing Earth as a major galactic power," Admiral Thompson replied. 3 more Golden Dawn-class ships are departing Earth tomorrow to establish permanent diplomatic missions with key alien civilizations. The communication ended and Jake stood looking out at the stars through his view screen. The Golden Dawn had started this journey as humanity's attempt to join the galactic community as equals, but they had ended up demonstrating superiority that would reshape interstellar politics for generations to come. "Captain, sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching our position," Lisa Torres reported. "They appear to be delegations from various species wanting to establish direct contact." Jake smiled as he realized that the aliens who had laughed at Earth's golden ships were now racing to be the first to secure alliances with humanity. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about judging species by appearances, and humanity had taken its place among the stars not through conquest but through the demonstration of technology that turned their enemies' strength into their own power.